We're good.
Right.
Okay.
You would just
Okay.
react.
So, and we have binding authority, meaning
You need one?
No, I got it. Call meeting to order. Shelley, can do roll call, please?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Rios en route. Councilman Humphrey is absent. Councilman Leatham.
Here.
Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
Councilwoman Giles.
Here.
Councilman Shipley.
Here.
Mayor Camaros.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. I'd like to invite Dan Morton up for the invocation, please.
Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we gather once again to discuss, enact, and review matters of concern to the people of Globe, and we ask for your guidance as we do so. This week we continue to recognize and honor families and friends who have given all to make meetings of this type possible. Thank you for your blessings. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Mike, can you lead us in the pledge?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go to summary of current events and council. We'll start with Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing.
Mike.
I have nothing either tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Fernando.
We have the open mic night that's going to be this Thursday night at the Old Knights of Columbus building, which is the one that Cobra Valley Youth Club is using. So everybody's welcome. Starts at 6. Nerdburger should be out there selling food. So if you like Nerdburger, it should be a fun night. You can do poetry. It's family appropriate. So if you have something that you need to edit, then just edit it before you come and share.
Ready?
Thank you, Mayor. The Center for the Arts is going to have a pretty busy schedule this coming June. I'm in the midst of obtaining their newsletter that's going to have all the postings. So once I get that, I will be sure to share it with the city staff so that we can put it on our city calendar. But from what I understand, there's going to be like 4 or 5 events with artists coming in. So we expect a good showing this summer. So just stay tuned for the Center for the Arts and keep your eye out for the city's calendar for those events and those artists that are coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Shirley?
Well, I gotta show off my shirt. Look at this cool tie-dye shirt. It says, from the Globe Library and the United Fund. This is for, I didn't just get this given, I had to go walk. But I don't go every time, but I go. So this is sponsored by the Friends of the Library and the United Fund, and Adria Ricky, our library director, has really been, and Mary Helen Evelos, they're both there, everyone, they're there walking. They've really helped get this event going, and it's great. You see people that are 4 years old and probably close to 94, right? Yeah, so it's a good thing. It's a really good thing, so that's great that you guys did that. I want to single out Michelle, too. Where'd she go? Oh, I just saw her. Did she try to escape? Is she coming back?
I just sent her to work on the website.
She needs to come back.
No, she can't.
Well, how am I going to give her this good review?
Okay.
Get her, it's good. Okay, so then we'll move along to Public Works and the brush crew, because there's a lot of brush out there with all the rain, and I get it. I do my road because I can't stand the brush, and there's people that say that, we have to do our road, or we do around our mailbox or whatever. This whole city and everything that goes on, the parks and the cemeteries and the whatever, it's a lot for Public Works to do. Okay, so now Michelle's here. She's looking at me with those scared eyes. No, this is good. This is a good thing. So Michelle, our code enforcement person, has really been taking the heat lately, for doing her job. There are some in the city that aren't pleased that Michelle does her job. A lot of us are, and we're glad the junk's going, and we're glad that vehicles that don't run and haven't run and aren't licensed and on, and the pile of old heaters and coolers and whatever, I don't know, 50 years worth, you know. We're glad that's gone out of the yards. We're glad the rats are gone out of the yards, and all that junk and old disabled vehicles bring. We're glad that that's gone. So since you have to listen to people all day long complaining at you, and we were on the street the other day, and she's in her truck, and people come over and, you know, approach her nicely, because she's just doing her job, and we're glad she's doing it. So thank you. And the last thing I have is Paul and Rad. Oh, he's giving me the scary eye too. So as we all know, this thing with Rad is huge. It's a problem. It's been such a problem for so many residents, and I'm one of them that has not gotten good service. I get it, but there was I don't know how many paragraphs, 10 at least, 10 or 12
The FAQ?
paragraph press release.
Right.
And I can't sit here and read it to all of you guys, because you know it would go on and on. But look at the website; it's on there. It addresses every concern. It sure addresses ones that I personally very pointedly wanted to know the answers to, as did many of us up here. So thank you for doing that. I know it took a long time. He did it on Memorial Day weekend, which was a really nice thing too. When I called, you know, screeching about that, people don't know about this, and they have all these questions, and why aren't we answering their questions? He did, and did it well. So thank you for doing that. And that's a little segue into this letter that I got, which I actually encouraged. So when I get multiple complaints or concerns from folks that either if they're in my district or not, you know, I tell them, you've got to put it in writing. That's the only way it becomes a part of the public record. It has to be in writing. So, you know, Lane and View Street, wow, big ordeal with the garbage for the last 6 or 8 months. Thank you. They all got together. They wrote this letter. I said, write the letter, sign it, send it. You know, we need it. That the public needs to know that. Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So, and then I have these two that are very well done that I'd like to read from the kids that came to tour City Hall, and they toured the police and the fire and everything. One of them that is written by Ari says, "Thank you for taking care of our town, and I think you're a good thing. I like you." Okay, that's nice. That has your name on it, Michelle. Wait, I just wrote it on there. Okay, this one is really good. This is from Mia, and it says, "Thank you for letting us play at the park and for letting us see Councilman Rios." They loved asking us questions, you know. It was really fun. "I think you are awesome, Councilman Rios. Keep up the good work and don't leave our town. You are the best." How about that?
I'll keep that one.
There you go. You got it. You got it. And we got a bunch of these. Linda got a bunch. We're going to hang them up in City Hall. I just think that's great. It's great that they come. It's great that they get they have no conception of what goes on here, or what we do, or what the city staff does, or, you know, what even this building is, right? They're just here to play in the playground. So how nice that they know. Yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you, Shirley. I have a few things. First, I want to recognize Mark Sando from the U.S. Forest Service. Welcome to our meeting.
Sure.
We have also Robin Bradford from FMI, Freeport McMoran, and we have James Mendela from the county manager, as a county manager. Thank you for attending our meeting. First, I want to just talk about, attended the Memorial Day services here yesterday. About 75 people attended, and it was about an hour long, and they did a nice ceremony here. And the American Legion is also celebrating their 100-year centennial. They've been in existence since March of 1919, and they've been an advocate for the veterans throughout the United States in helping with their benefits and through legislation. So I want to congratulate them for their service to the veterans. We're also looking at, they want to design a memorial, or we're designing a memorial, some kind of in the front somewhere where we can recognize that. We do have a plaque that's on the flagpole, but nobody can see it because it's flat. So we want to put something that really recognizes, because this is called Veterans Park, and that was dedicated in 1971. So we want to do something different to really bring that out. And we're working with the veterans. The American Legion and the VFW all are part of it. So we'll be working on that. Some good news, House Bill 2748. The budget was passed by legislators last night, and hopefully the governor's supposed to sign it. But our $2.8 million request to rebuild the Connie's Bridge is still in there. So there's no way that we would have been able to do as a city that amount of money, but with that in there now, we should see this money probably by 2019, 2020.
No, with the, any legislation that becomes active on August 28th or 29th, I have a phone call into the league as to whether we have to wait for that deadline or it may be appropriated sooner, but we will build it into the budget so we can receive that. There's still some details to work out, but no, it should be coming. Like I say, the governor has said publicly to the press, it was in the Arizona Republic, that he intends to sign all the budget bills. I did not get a chance to check up to see if he signed them yet, but like I say, everything is pointing to, I can't imagine a scenario where it didn't happen, and just waiting for his signature. So we're, like I say, we will get that money. My understanding is we will get that money. The only thing that could change is ADOT may want to manage the project, and we wouldn't be that upset with that happening either. But there's this is not federal funds. This is state funds that the state has seen fit to help us with our unique bridge situation at Connie's Bridge, Jess Hayes Bridge, and partially realigning that intersection. So we're awfully happy, and kudos to Frank Pratt who got this going, and to Representative Cook, Senator Pratt, and Representative Cook who followed it through. Like say, it's something that you don't see often, getting those type of appropriations into a budget like this, but the stars aligned, and I think we should be pretty grateful.
This is a huge win for our city to be able to get that. We tried to go other avenues through ADOT and through other ways of grant funding, and we ran into dead ends. So $2.8 million, a lot of money being appropriated to our city to replace that bridge that's much needed. So, and that's all I have, Paul.
And so I got a couple things here, but I wanted to start by inviting Linda Odnetto down. She has an announcement.
I know you want my tie-dye shirt, Freddie. I'm keeping them. I'm trying to swipe it from you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And Councilman Rios, my daughter, I did not write that for her. That was all from her. Mia's my daughter. She loves the city, and she comes to work with me on some Fridays, and she really understands what we do here, and she likes to share that with the class.
Well, you can let her know that I'm going to frame it and hang it in my office.
Oh, can I make a copy first? Can I make a copy first?
Absolutely, sure.
Thank you. Well, I have some very exciting news, and I've just been bursting. I've been wanting to share this. It was announced this morning at the county supervisor's work session, and so I don't want to steal Robin's thunder, but I'd like to invite Robin Bradford from Freeport and Krista Domlin East, the GUSD Deputy Superintendent, who is also going to speak on this exciting announcement, and James Menlove also. So James and Krista and I were part of the Community Investment Fund panel, and we reviewed several applications for funding this year, and this I think is the best year. This is such an exciting cohort that is moving forward. The projects and programming that are coming out of it, I think, are complete game changers. So without saying any more, I'd like to invite Robin and Krista and James up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing us to attend tonight and share this really great news that we have. I'm Robin Bradford with Freeport-McMoRan. I do community development for Miami operations here. And Krista Domlin East is with me, and she serves on the Community Investment Fund Grant Review Committee. So this year, we had 5 grants. We had 9 applications come in, of which 5 grants were approved. And so it was a total of $304,000 to community organizations, and one happens to be a wonderful project that's going to happen here in downtown Globe. So I'm going to hand it over to Krista to let her give you the big.
Yes, they have graciously let me share the wonderful news here. So I am pleased to tell you that a grant for the Globe Miami co-work space and the Gila County Globe Miami Co-work Space and Incubator has been funded in the amount of $150,000.
Wow.
So, yay! That's good. So I want to read just a quick little description of what the grant is, and then share some of the thoughts that our committee had when selecting this grant to be funded. So the Globe Miami Co-work Space and Incubator will take the Michelson building in downtown Globe and will restore it so that it can be used as a shared workspace, downtown visitor center, and business incubator. From flexible workspace to events and programming, this co-work space will help grow existing businesses and nurture future entrepreneurs in a central hub, increasing opportunities for business attraction and economic diversification. And so some of the things that our committee discussed when deciding that this grant should be funded is that we are just so excited that our community and that these funds can be part of such an innovative project for bringing new businesses and increased opportunity to Globe Miami. This project will serve to use and fix a currently vacant building in downtown Globe and bring new vitality to our community with a game-changing entrepreneurial workspace. We are happy to see the collaboration between Gila County and the City of Globe and our whole community, and welcome this innovative thought in the form of this co-work space. We are convinced that this will bring positive change to our community and will allow more businesses to operate successfully here.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it's exciting for the county that owns the Michelson building to partner, to have such great partners as the City of Globe and Freeport-McMoRan that invest in the community and look for ways that we can improve the quality of life for all of us that live here. So it's an exciting thing that we can take a building that's been vacant, has had the roof leaking for a number of years, and what this money will do, the county's going to match that in addition to other things that we're doing as a county. We'll match the $150,000. We're going to take the roof completely off and put a whole new roof on it. It will no longer leak. Pick a few people up off the floor. It's not going to leak. But we are thrilled with the partnership because this is as has been said by Krista, that it's a wonderful opportunity that we can invest in our businesses here in the city and in the whole community and be able to assist those that are looking for expert assistance on building a business, on strengthening a business, helping a local business that's already existing to grow. And so all of that is just a thrill to not only myself as representing the county, as our board of supervisors as well, to be able to invest in the county, in the city, in this area in that way. So thank you for your partnership. And thank you to Freeport-McMoRan.
So I'm still in shock, honestly, even though I've known for a few days, but this is something that we started working on after the Rural Policy Forum last year, thinking this was kind of a pie in the sky idea. It would be amazing to do in downtown Globe, but you know, it takes a lot of dollars and a lot of hands, a lot of layers to put into this. I believe this is going to just be an amazing catalyst for the revitalization of not just our downtown, but of our community. The fact that we can help new businesses start up, but I think even more importantly is to help strengthen our current business inventory, because 80% of economic growth does come from existing businesses. And we're doing that right now, even though I'm doing it out of my, you've seen my office, it's in a state, and that's because I don't have time to recover from one project to program to meeting, because we're just so busy helping new businesses with their business plans, financing opportunities, their marketing, their branding, site selection. So we've done quite a bit in the short time that my department has been here in the city. So this is just such a great win, and I'm so happy to share that with Mayor and Council and also our community. And again, thank you so much to Freeport McMoRan Foundation for their investment and support in our community and this project, and also of course to Gila County, because without Gila County we wouldn't have the site. And the fact that that we're partnering on this project just goes to show you that we truly are partners in the economic development of our community, and we are breaking down those silos. And working side by side. So very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Linda always says that I think 80% of the growth comes from existing businesses, and so there's by growing and incubating and trying to get businesses to start up, giving them space, and trying to help those existing businesses. I think it's the best way we can grow the pie and grow the entrepreneurship in the city of Globe. So thank you all. A couple other things. Then Councilman Shipley, you can help me if I get this wrong, but coming up, it's in the future, but there is a gentleman named Andy Hall who was the first person killed defending a Wells Fargo stagecoach. He was buried in the old cemetery here in Globe. His relatives approached the city and they want to put a memorial there, but we're not sure exactly where he is. And we've looked and looked, but they are going to put, the family, I believe, is putting that in partnership with the Historical Society, and there's a lot being built off of this. I know they're going to have a dedication on September 16, 2019 at the Old Globe Section 4. I think Mayor, you're doing a proclamation. It's going to be part of Old Dominion Days. Councilman Shipley, do you want to help out on talking about this?
You pretty much nailed it. They weren't sure. There was some people that done quite a bit of research on who was buried there of significance, and I know they discovered a lot, but they did not know where this gentleman was buried, so they're going to wing it, I think. So.
Well, I think we're getting the general vicinity somewhere out there, So, but it's real important, and I hadn't had a chance to share that with council. I know it's been percolating around, but I just wanted to share. It's one of those neat things that just picks up where people, we have old cemeteries like we do, and a lot of history. And people come to us a lot, and the Historical Society too. The other thing I wanted to remind people is this Saturday is it? David, is it this Saturday or the Sunshine? No, the Sunrise Challenge? Next weekend. Okay, I'm the president of Rotary. I should know this.
Farmers Market, though.
Oh, okay. The first Farmers Market next weekend, not this weekend. I will, whichever weekend it is, I will not be there because it's way too early. But the Sunrise Challenge is coming. And but I did, speaking of David Abbott, I did want to ask David down here because I'm not quite sure why he's here. And so, David, do you want to talk about your? Did you want to explain to the council what your current status is? Quickly.
Don't look so enthused and happy there, friend.
Okay. So, name, rank, and serial number.
It didn't have to be this way. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Pablito. Hey, Suzanne, how are you? Okay. I think what he is talking about is I've made a slight change in my life. I moved on from the Silver Belt, and starting next Monday, I'm going to be the editor of Globe Miami Times, and we're going to go monthly. So expect me to come here and hold your feet to the fire, especially you, Giles. Anyway.
I'm used to it.
Oh, that's good.
It's all good.
So anyway, I didn't know Pablito was going to do this to me, so here I am.
Well, I just want everybody to know exactly, who's up to what, and I figure with you it's doubly important.
I didn't realize that this rose to the level of civic importance.
I think
you assigned to it.
Mayor and council, all seriousness aside,
all seriousness aside,
all seriousness. David Abbott is a new member of this community who's brought a lot of information, opened a lot of doors, helped pave the way for a lot of stuff going on. I'm glad that you're staying in Globe. I'm glad you're going to be employed here, and I think you're just a credit to the community. You make this community better. So, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that.
All right, that's it.
We
Go.
want Colleen as a volunteer at the center. Pass that on.
You got to come over and shake her loose then. Good luck with that, because I've been trying for 22 years. Anyway.
And Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No,
you're good.
I'm done.
Okay, good. Thanks.
I was going to try to sneak away.
No, go ahead. Sneak. You're good at it.
I'm not the mayor, so I'll go.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you. The only last thing we did, I will check when I was trying to update the website with the RAD FAQ, and I think Michelle is in there doing that now because I failed as webmaster. But I do want to let everybody know on June 3rd, based on the contract that we altered, recycling will end on June 3rd. The FAQ will be up very soon now. anyone who has any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm collecting the information from the people who have contacted council. We can reach out to them, make sure that they know what's going on. There is there's some nuances to certain areas because of the difficulty. We're trying to do the right thing. Council's is doing the right thing and make this transition as easy as possible. I've been calling my contacts around the valley and different places. Many other communities have had this problem. I was even listening yesterday on the Senate Budget Committee, and they were talking about the crash of the recycling market is not just a Globe thing, but we will make the best of it, and we'll also be looking at community options. If we can't do curbside recycling, I do believe the ways we can do some type of recycling, but we'll keep working on that. But anybody has any questions, concerns about anything, I'd rather have you come, reach out to me, talk to me before it ends up on Facebook, so we can, just get the information out. May not be happy with the answers, but I'd be happy to share the information.
And Paul, could we not, for those that can't go on the website or for whatever reason it's not working, we have the printed.
We are going to we're going to do a mailer
here at City Hall. People can get. I mean, there's nothing to hide. It is what it is.
We are working on mailing that FAQ along with the other flyer announcing this as soon as we can get it folded and into an envelope and sent out. We missed the mailing on the bill cycle. There'll be a note in the smaller bill, but we're working to get this mailed out to every address on the list of customers, so we can make sure everybody's aware. Because not everybody's on the internet and not everybody's internet savvy or Facebook. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, that's all I have.
And Paul, I think the wording, instead of ending recycling, we're suspending recycling.
Suspending recycling. And that's because of the market crash. And many other cities are trying to lump it along and hold on tight. I know Tucson is losing $3 million this year. Phoenix, Tempe, Chandler are all struggling, trying to do this partially. But we're going to do what we can. This city supports recycling. It's uncomfortable that we can't technically do it because of the market, but we're gonna do our best. And if the market changes, we'll be back in the game. Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you.
Thank you. I do have one more announcement. This is the first weekend of our concert, Linda. So it'll be at the train depot at 7. Do we know who's playing that night, or? It's Neto Vasquez. Is it Neto Vasquez? Okay, 7 to 9 at the train depot. Bring your lawn chair and enjoy the music. So next we go to community call to the public. This is a time any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that is not scheduled on this agenda may do so at this time. This is a time for the public to comment to members of the city council. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. And if you wish to make a comment, please fill out a request to speak card. They're located at the back of the chambers here, and turn it into our clerk. And this is also a time, if you want to speak on an agenda item, you'll also have to fill out a card, and we'll allow you to come up and speak on that agendized item. So I do have one card, is all I have at this time. We have Mr. Charles Beck.
Charles Beck, 311 North 1st Street in Globe. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you for hearing my comments this evening. The subject is responsible dog ownership, city living, and the quality of life. First, I also want to give kudos to Michelle and her work within the city and her responses to my emails. And basically what I'm doing is kind of quoting our dialogue. On May 22nd, I sent an email to Michelle that said, I live a block away from a house that has at least one dog that barks throughout the day and night. No one seems to put any effort into containing the dog or dogs, I'm not quite sure if there were 2 or not, from barking. Plus there was trash on the street and cars were driving over and stuff like that. Michelle quickly followed up on the matter, and the neighbors somewhat complied. And my response to Michelle in our email chain was that, thanks for the quick response on the matter. The dogs are getting out of hand in the city. Some people, including me, are afraid to take a walk. I drive by one corner that I used to walk daily, and sometimes my car is attacked by a dog. Nationally, statistics show the dog population in the United States has increased 29% in the last few years. I think in Globe it has increased way over 40 to 50%. And within a 250-mile radius of where I stand, I can count more than a dozen dogs. And when one takes off, they all take off. So it's that kind of repetition that goes on and on throughout the day. I feel hostage to all the dogs barking and running around. It interferes with the quality of life within the community. And I think when we talk about quality of life in the community, we have to see what that means when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of things like this. And that's why I think it's important. When people ask me about where I live, I say dogs bark all the time. So how can I recommend a city when I get down to the neighborhood level? That's when it really counts, and that's why I'm really concerned. I also say that I have talked to other people who have actually been bitten by dogs in my neighborhood, and they feel the same as I do. When you call animal control, it's difficult to get immediate response when there's a dog running around on loose. You just get a message phone. And calling the police is another matter. I've had that experience, and it's very unpleasant for everybody. I would like to see the city become more openly proactive in dealing with this issue. My recommendation is maybe offering dog training classes to begin as an incentive instead of the fine. So that's what my 2 bits, what I'm putting in, and how I think we should increase the quality of life in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. So go to special presentations and ceremonial matters. First up is Tonto Forest Service update. Mark Sando.
Mayor Gomeros, City Council, thank you for the time to be on the agenda. I brought with me Mary Lada, fire ecologist for the Tonto National Forest, and Brad Johnson, Tonto Zone FMO for Globe and Tonto Basin, and we are going to present the pod system. So with that, I'm going to let Mary and Brad take over this presentation. So feel free to ask questions, when you're wondering what are you talking about. So, but these guys will do a good job. I know they will.
Well, thank you. I'm Brad Johnson. Like Mark said, I'm the Central Zone Fire Management Officer for Globe and Tonto Basin. Manage all our firefighting assets in 1.1 million acres of land around here for the Tonto National Forest. Been with the Tonto National Forest, or not the Tonto National Forest, but the Forest Service as an agency for 20 years. Out of Prescott, California for a couple years, and I've been out of here for 6 years. So the big thing is that, I thank you for your time and, and everything else. And this is just, information sharing and just engagement on, the situation we have at hand across the whole forest, really. And of course, the Pinals are a major component of that. So within these potential wildfire operational delineations, we really want to share how we're kind of looking at decision making when we come onto those fires that you see with the Pinal fire, for example, other fires that you'll see in the future, and show our strategic response and how we actually look at things. And it's just a tool. It's nothing that we really go into and say we're going to do this, say we're going to do that. It's just kind of an outlier where we can actually see, whoa, that's going to be pretty complex. Whoa, we can hold stuff here. Ooh, that might be a good opportunity, or it might be a good opportunity in a complex area, just like the Pinal fire, if that makes sense. So with that being said, I really thank you for your time on this kind of stuff, and your time too, so we can really be transparent with our way of thinking, so we can think as a team together, because we do the same thing with our permittees. We do the same thing with all of our stakeholders, and we want to do the same thing with the community here as well, so we can be transparent with each other, and we don't have this cloud of the government's doing this or that. We just really want to do good for the community and for the land, and to not get into a disastrous situation if we let everything out there in the Pinal fire or in the Pinal Mountains just sit and keep on growing for a long time. if that makes sense. So, okay. Mary?
I'd like to echo the thank you for your time. There's a handout that you all have, and there were extra copies, if any of you are interested, that are on the back table there that explain, it's sort of a FAQ on what pods are. That handout was put together by our regional fire ecologist. And before I get into the presentation, I also wanted to show you this. I believe there's a copy on the back table. There's only one back there, but I'm leaving an electronic copy here if you're interested. This picture on the front is from the Pinal Fire. This is Wildfire Magazine. It's put out by the International Association of Wildland Fire. There's a great article in here on the pods and the Pinal Fire and how this community also helped and supported that and was a part of it. So thank you for doing that. That meant an awful lot to the Forest Service and to the community. And this came out really well. It was well done. So pods, as Brad said, can you hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay. I know I speak quietly sometimes. Pods is a strategic response. That means that we want to plan in advance what we might want to do if we get a wildfire start here or here, to have some things already lined out so we have an idea how we might respond in advance. Let's see, where do I point this over here?
Yeah, towards this
There we
little
go.
thing right there.
Can you click on that link? I'm going to start with, it's a 3-minute and 15-second video that was put together by the Missoula Fire Lab. They're the folks who developed pods. Oops, nope.
Nope. White pods? Nope.
There's a link. It's really light. It's light blue. Can you just click on that? And it should open up an internet window. Yep.
Well, you click better.
She's a better clicker than you.
Yes.
What can you say?
She's the clerk.
She's the clicker.
Yep. Uh-oh.
Well, if that's not going to work, we can certainly move forward without it. Do you have two windows up there? Or just...
No, I think when you window, Danny, if you can go on, we can maybe get Danny to figure out why this won't.
Well, can you go back to the PowerPoint?
Oh, that would be important.
Let's go back to the PowerPoint, and we'll get through my stuff, and if we can get this then at the end, it's not absolutely critical. We had a similar issue at a couple of other presentations.
Okay.
So why pods? Well, this shows the Tonto National Forest. These are lightning fires that were ignited over about almost 30 years there, actually closer to 40 years. Each dot there represents a lightning fire that we sent somebody to, that somebody had to go and check out. Sometimes it was just a snag, just lightning hit a tree and it was burning in the top. Sometimes it might have been something like the Willow Complex at tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of acres. Here's the human-caused fires over the same period of time. So we have a lot of fire, and this is one reason we want to have set up as much as we can so that when we get a start on the ground, somebody reports a smoke, and we send people to it, we can already be talking about what our options might be in the choices we make on what to do with that fire. I'm not going to go through every bullet and every slide, don't worry. So pods is a way to spatially show, there's maps and you'll see them, I'll pull them up here in a minute. They show you where you're going to have really bad effects potentially, or where you might get really beneficial effects. They help us put sidebars right away when we get a start, kind of sidebars on what we might want to think about doing with a fire, whether we want to use it for getting some resource benefits or whether we want to get on it right away and suppress it as quickly as we can. It doesn't make the decision for us, but it informs the decision. It's another tool. As far as doing fuels projects, if we do some thinning in the pine so that we could decrease the potential for catastrophic fire, this is another thing that this product can do. It can help us show where the effects right now might be something we don't necessarily want. So maybe we focus our fuels treatments in those areas. And as with Pinal, if we have incoming resources, say we have to exchange the team, so we have an incident management team. We had what we called a Type 3 fire initially for Pinal, and then when it got a little more active later on, we brought in a Type 1 team. They understood what pods was. So we can talk about pods with an incoming team when you exchange resources on a wildfire, and they will right away know some of the things that are important, such as where can we engage this fire? And again, I'll show you this spatially in a minute. You have to get through this stuff first, and then we get to the maps, and it will make more sense. So there's modeling that's done. I do a lot of modeling. It's kind of like a big video game for me, only it's serious because it's about land management. The modeling for this is mostly done by the Fire Lab in Missoula, which is one of 3 big fire labs this country has. It's one of the better ones in the world. So they took 30 years of data from fires that have occurred on the Tonto National Forest, and they looked at it on the map and said, here's where fires have stopped in the past. And here's additional areas where we think they might. Sometimes it's a road, sometimes it's a trail, it might be a river or a drainage, or a cliff or something like that. So the Missoula Lab models what looks to us then like a network or spider web of lines across the Tonto National Forest, and they give it to the forest and say, here's what we think the options are for where you could actively engage a fire, whether it's prescribed fire or doing a burnout. Here's where we think you could engage it. And that goes down to the district level, to the Brads of the world. The people who've been working on a district for a while or on a forest, and they know that landscape, they know where fire will stop, they know where it won't stop. They look at that network of lines and they decide which ones they want to use to draw boundaries to say, this is a pod, this is an area where we feel confident we could probably manage a fire in for whatever objectives we get. This is a place we could backfire, this is a place the fire would stop on its own. These are the lines we want to use. So they send that back to Missoula and say this is the outlines. So important thing here is that for the potential control locations, which is the boundaries of all of the pods, that is based on potential fire behavior and nothing else. It's based on what the local fire folks say is real on the ground because they know, because they've been there, and nothing else. So that's a very real vetted thing by people who know their area. And
Ready?
yeah,
If I could, so does, excuse me, do previous burns have a factor or some sort of, are they weighed in some fashion when you create these pods?
when they create the boundaries for the pods, that's based on the modeling they do, and they model each of the historic fires under the conditions that it actually burned under. Does that make?
So the
inside.
I guess what I'm getting at, and I'm trying to be real simple with this because I can
answer that.
Okay, good.
So we're all here for the the Pioneer Fire, correct? Were we here for that?
Mm-hmm.
The dozer line we use on the ridge line up there, up East Mountain, and all the way around to the side of Pioneer Pass. That polygon of the Pioneer Fire is actually a pod, and you'll see it, and it's categorized as, yellow, as we call it. The Pinal Fire, the same thing. That was a.
I moved the slides
Yeah.
on just the Pinal up further, so
Perfect.
I'll give it to
But
you when
yeah,
I get there, and you can talk about that.
Because of that Pioneer Fire,
Mhm.
that polygon is a certain rated, at what is it? Restore.
Yeah,
Yellow.
Right now, we're talking
So-
about the boundaries. I'll talk
Yeah.
about the filling in a minute.
So that's some of the things we do look at.
So your colors would represent potential burns, like the gravity of a burn?
Well, it goes really deeply into how long stuff has been there. You know what I mean? How long it's actually been burned, how long ago it was.
Right.
And so it really depends on what it's at now.
Okay, that's kind of what I'm
It's
looking
a
for.
Living, yes, and the map is a living map. It's going to forever change colors, lines, this and that because of what fuels treatments or whatever that we have going on out there on the land, for sure.
All right, thanks. I didn't want to sway you, but you started talking about it. I just started thinking, what impact do previous burns have on this?
Please do, because we have talked about this for hours and hours. This is the 7th presentation we've done with the different people, and we can go into the weeds for this for hours if people want to, but I know we're only allowed 20 minutes, so it's all good.
Okay, so moving along, so that's the outlines of the pods. It's about where fire is probably going to be stopped or we can engage it. Actually, we're not going to get into that picture right there. So inside of the pods, that is the color between the boundaries and the rating of it. Initially, there's modeling done that looks at the fire behavior within there. It looks at if somebody gets hurt in there and we have to carry them out, how long does it take to get them out? It looks at how safe it is. Are there hazards in there? Anything from a munitions dump to Agent Orange on the ground to maybe it's just grass, so fire goes fast but doesn't burn real intensely. So it looks at everything within there. That's the fire bit that goes on rating an individual pod. And we also look at the fire effects on the different resources, whether it's wildlife habitat, whether it's grazing land and the impacts on a permittee because of fencing or other improvements. We look at ruins or archaeological remains, things like that. All of that goes into how a pod gets rated. So each of the resource specialists will look at the pods and say, if I'm an archaeologist, for example, I've got an old cabin in there. That's going to be susceptible to pretty much any fire that comes out there. Might be some ruins that are made out of stone. They've been through a lot of fires. They're probably okay in most fires still. So then that information is looked at by upper level fire managers and the line officers, such as Mark, upper level administration. They come up with a weighting to say, okay, this is really tough and I wouldn't want to have to do it. We're going to give wildlife a 3, recreation a 2, archaeology a 1, something like that. Because in some of the pods, there's going to be conflicts. The wildlife habitat maybe really needs to burn, but there's also an historic cabin right there. And that stuff has to be weighed out so that when they do the modeling, and I'll show you the map in a second here, there's a decision made by somebody, and it's not those of us who are resource folks. So real quick, here's kind of how it starts. These are the outlines of the 30-ish years of fire that they put into it initially to say where might you put pod boundaries. Those are a lot of the lines they came up with, and as you can see, some of them align really well with the boundaries of the fires. In most cases, those are roads. Some cases, they don't. They're just roads that have been out there, but there hasn't been a fire. So this is what it looks like in the end, just the outlines of the pods. And again, that's based on nothing but fire behavior, and it's vetted with the local fire folks who know what fire does on that landscape. And then this is a risk assessment. Where it's red, it means we would expect to probably have negative or detrimental effects from pretty much any fire or fires burning as they normally would in that area. And the blue means we'd expect the effects to be pretty good. So when you lay the pod boundaries over that, it doesn't always make a lot of sense because you can see some pods in there that have a lot of dark blue right next to a lot of red. That's where the ranger's weighting comes in. And we send all this up to the Missoula Fire Lab, and it comes out looking like this. So this was the pods map for the Tonto National Forest as of the 31st of December this year. Missoula did some updates in their modeling, and that resulted in a few other changes. And so when I started on this forest, one of the first things I was told is you need to update the pods and keep them that way. And so we've updated them. Updates include things that change the values on the landscape. So if we had a recreation site that was decommissioned, or if we built a new one, or if there was habitat that was, not designated anymore, or new habitat or whatever, or fuels treatments or wildfires, that would change the potential on the ground for things happening that we do or don't want. It would change the fire behavior. So those are the things that I look at every year, and I go out to the districts and say, here's what we have. Do you see any changes particularly in the boundaries? Moving right along. So here's where we were in December, and here's the changes. Whoops, sorry, it was a little quick. I'm gonna go through these fast instead of going through everything, because there's a bunch of them. So basically, green.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Of course.
So it seems to me like there's been a trend by the forest to more and more limit access to the forest. But does the maintaining a pod dictate that maybe we'll maintain this road even though we'd rather not have it for the sake of having access to a fire site or possible fire
Could
site?
relate to the rating of the pods. If we have a road that is decommissioned and eventually gets overgrown, it's not going to be a pod boundary anymore. Or the reverse. If we had something that was kind of a not very well-maintained trail and the public liked it, so we turn it into an ATV trail or something, then that becomes another operational boundary, a place where maybe we could put a pod boundary. So it is going to be affected by public access.
So does that, but I guess my question is, does the thought of a pod and the needs of the pod go into deciding whether or not to decommission a road on the forest?
No, that's, the decision to decommission a road is at the forest level with the travel management. This is completely different.
Okay.
You know, these are like more like natural features. It could be a wash, like Canal Creek. It could be an old road. It doesn't necessarily mean that pods are driving other things. Pods is just
Another little tool.
a little tool that we use.
Okay.
And so, you know, so no.
Okay. Thank you.
That's a good question, though. I like that.
That was a good question. Thank you.
It makes me want to be like, hey. I just want to have features.
So the short version is, of course, green is good. That means we would expect fires burning in those areas to do mostly good things to most of the resources there. Yellow means there's a moderate risk of effects we don't like, but still have a lot of opportunities in these yellow areas to use a wildfire or to put prescribed fire in without doing a whole lot else. Red does not mean that we don't need fire in there. There's a lot of areas we have where ponderosa pine is really overgrown and it badly needs fire, but in those places, we may well want to go in and do some mechanical work first and or prescribed fire. It just kind of depends on the conditions under which we get a start in that area.
And also, it's just more complex. You know, you notice around Globe, we have a lot of red around Globe. You know, the urban interface, the smoke, you know, all that stuff makes things more complex. So we take a harder look at things to figure out what kind of management techniques we need to engage with, especially with the public, the communities, everything. That all takes higher levels of engagement and a lot of critical thinking.
Is there any thought of doing any mechanical treatment in the Globe area?
Yes. Yeah.
Wait until you get the map
Yeah.
to talk about it? Or?
Yeah, I'll talk on that one. It's my turn, but it's a good, I can segue into that.
Yeah, there's a map I have at the end. He can show you exactly where he's talking about what here. So purple exclusion, a lot of that is based on Sonoran Desert because we already have too much fire in the Sonoran Desert. And this is supposed to be orange. Brad always harasses me on that. It is orange, it just depends on your eyes. This is high complexity. There's one big blob of this you'll see in the middle that's north of Roosevelt and partly up into Payson, and then a little tiny one up, it's really nasty up on the rim. So here's the map. Here's the changes we made this year. We had the Bears fire last summer, so we separated that out because since we prepped around the roads on all sides of that and 2/3 of that was burned, the potential fire behavior in there is different enough that we have more options now within that area, so we separated that out. These 4 pods here were added and carved out of the yellow, so they went from being a restore, meaning maybe use fire, to exclude. These went from being yellow to red, and I'll let Brad elaborate on that a little bit later. And then this is where the Pinnell fire was. We turned that green, and again, I'll let Brad talk about that a little bit later. Do you want to take it from here? You want me to do the veg stuff? Okay. So pod 115 there, you can't read that any better than I can. I just know which one it is. Right in the middle, there's kind of a kidney-shaped yellow pod. That is where the Pinnell fire started in 2017. And notice that between Globe, which is the white area above it, so you go the yellow kidney-shaped pod, above it is a bunch of red pods, and above that is white. That's where you find Globe in Miami, in that area. So we turn this one green because this area in dark green here is chaparral. When chaparral burns to the ground, I imagine everybody here has seen what it looks like up by Russell Road. That area right there isn't going to carry fire anytime soon. It's not going to spot from that area to the other side of the road. And so at the top, it's a type of vegetation we call wet mix conifer. It doesn't burn very often or very easily. And so that also burned a little bit in Pinal, but it's not going to burn anytime soon, and it's not going to throw embers very far. The area in the middle is kind of a mix of all of the above. It's a short way to say it. So basically that darker green is probably not going to be a threat for a while. And so at the top, where it bounds the red between the city of Miami and where the Pinal fire burned, that used to be a pretty high threat of fire moving from that pod because it was chaparral. And when chaparral burns, it burns. We call it an on-off fuel. It either burns like crazy with 30, 40-foot flames, or it won't burn. So it burned pretty hot in Pinal. And so now it's not going to be able to throw embers into those red pods north of it anytime soon. And so we felt pretty comfortable turning it green. Missoula will remodel this for us in the fall and show us more specifics on if it needs to all be green or what. But for now, we turned it green because we think we made a difference. And that was partly based on what you all thought and the opinions you gave and the support that you gave us when we said, hey, we have this start. And I'll let Brad talk about that more. So I was told not to get into ecology too much, so we'll stop it right here. Give it back to Brad. Yeah.
Okay. So, is there a laser on this?
They have them in front of them. No, they can't see where you're pointing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, to our right of the Pinal fire, you see there's Pioneer Pass that's in there. And a month ago, we all remember that smoke out there. We're putting air tankers on it, right? So, we were looking really hard at that to see what we should do with it, put it out now, make it another Pinal fire, restore the watershed, restore the cumulative damage that could happen in the future, and do it under our terms. But we look really critical at every aspect of everything. So it was the right time. It was, middle of spring. We knew a lot of low pressures and moisture was coming in, so it would have been a low intensity, really good fire. It was the right place. We had a lot of good control lines around it. We have the right communication level with everybody here on understanding what we're going to go through if we do this again. But it's the right conditions, the right everything for that, except for one thing. And we did not do it because we didn't have the right resources. So it was early in the year. We didn't even have firefighters on. A lot of the nation didn't have firefighters on. So that one key component, well, we got to put it out, because just south of there's that grass load that's out there, and I didn't want to kick on into the grass and get on out there. So that's kind of why we hit that aggressive, if that makes sense to everybody. What's up? So, and we did look at that. The pods play into it. It's yellow. It's there. We can see the operational, lines that we could use and everything like that, and the ecosystem management we can use. There's a lot of things that played into that, and pods play into it as well. You look at it on a map and you're like, oh, let's look harder at this. Let's see what's going on, and stuff like that.
But not only that, but there was an old burn, like you're asking.
It was the Pioneer burn. It was a Pioneer fire.
That we could have tied it into also, which what you're asking all So
Yep.
it does come into big old burns and stuff like that too.
Mm-hmm. So tell the audience and us, what do you mean there were no firefighters on? Explain that.
So we do have a permanent workforce of firefighters here. You guys see the globe buggies running around and still the fire engines going around year round. That's our permanent workforce. And that consists of about 20 people or so across the zone of Tonto Basin and Globe. And then as well as, we onboard what we call our seasonal workforce, which pretty much doubles or triple our workforce. And so the whole region, Arizona and New Mexico, we do it at the same time. All the hotshot crews come on at the same time, and that's all early April to be onboarded and ready to go. And so this time of year, at that time of year, I mean, if this was fast forwarded to now, then we would have everybody on and a lot of resources right now because everybody's onboarded, ready to go. But our seasonal workforce, we really depend on that when it comes to boots on the ground, having fully staffed hotshot crews, you know, because we only have 7 to 8 permanent hotshot crew members, but they're a group of 22 people. And we bring on seasonals every year of doing that kind of stuff. And you need hotshot crews, dozers, you know, all kinds of stuff to make sure that we can manage everything effectively and safely for everybody.
So explain to folks why sometimes you let the fire burn.
Okay, so it's a double-edged sword. A fire is a fire to us. It's not really letting it burn, but a fire is a fire. Any fire is a fire. Basically, if we went back 100 years and like we did in the past and put out every single little fire like we have been for the last 100 years, the fire is going to basically become overgrown. And we all saw what is happening across the nation is because the overgrowth of the forests that's going on right now. We're in a really critical, stressed forest stage right now where they do need to be rehabilitated, if that makes sense, for a way to reduce the fuel loading into areas like the Pinals. Fire is a great tool to use and a very cheap tool to use. The other thing is that if we do keep on just putting out small fires all the time, like we have been in the past, it's going to become overgrown and overgrown. And when we do get that bad opportunity of either human or lightning caused fire, and it gets established, and that thing starts running at town, when we can't control it because it has 120-foot flame lengths, that's going to be devastating. So what we're trying to do is trying to get back ahead of that power curve to make sure that we can restore fire back into the ecosystem. Because in the Ponderosa fuel type, you know, before we settled here, fire was always here either every 4 years or every 12 years. We call it a mean fire return interval. And so a Ponderosa pine is a fire adapted tree. It's used to having fire go through it, low intensity fire go through it. And they rely on fire to exist because it clears out the understory, it clears out their competition for water, and everything like that for the ecosystem. So.
Can I add one thing?
Yep.
Pinal is a perfect example where if fire had started at the bottom of that mountain, under some more extreme conditions when the Pinal, or when the chaparral would burn at the bottom, that fire would have run up Ice House, Kelder, all those canyons, and it would have been pretty high severity all the way up. So that's one thing, it would have taken out stuff.
It would have taken out all the communication towers, everything.
And then
There's
the
no
second
stopping
thing
it.
is when monsoons hit, and all of a sudden, you don't have anything holding the soil and the ash and the rest of it. You had some flooding after Pinal, but it would have been an order of magnitude or so worse if that fire had burned under its own terms and gone up the mountain and burned it all out.
So as we remember the Pinal fire, you saw it starting from the top, and we call that backing down. So the fire starts at the top, and the fire just burns at a low intensity, backing down. Okay? If it goes from the bottom, it roars up there, and you would have saw a lot more intense fire if that would have been in reverse. And that's the one big reason why we would like to take some opportunities to do it under our terms and make some fires a little bit bigger. And it's safer firefighting too, instead of putting people in there on a hillside with a cliff on a snag. Firefighting's firefighting. Either it's on the Pinal fire or doing a snag, going to cut that down on the side of a cliff. But the thing is that when we can bring it down on our terms to help the public and help everybody in the ecosystem and the watersheds and the erosion, that's what we're trying to do. So
Should improve the elk hunting too.
it'll improve wildlife, it'll improve everything.
So one thing I want to add to that is, again, I just want to thank the council, the board, for supporting us for that particular fire, because, you know, now I can breathe better at night knowing that we're, you know, in a position where if a fire does start, it won't be raging like he's explaining, you know, it's, you know, but we need more of that. But the thing is, it has to be in the right conditions with everything he talked about. We gotta have resources, temperature, winds, all that have to be in line, and that's very, very rare that happens. We were fortunate that it happened the day the Pinal fire started.
It is rare, and it's gained national attention with the Washington office, everybody, of what we're doing here as a community. Do you have any more questions before I get into the mastication question at all? Anyone? Okay. So we're going to start. We'll all start seeing some more smoke in the air when it comes to prescribed burning and mastication in the future. I'm working on some NEPA projects, National Environmental Protection Act projects, to get that going. So right now on the Tonto National Forest, we all know what the thumb is. It goes on out to Timber Camp, Apache Mountain, all that country out there. It's kind of the thumb of the National Forest. We'll start to see some massification projects going on out there in the next couple years. And then as well as some prescribed burning out in the Timber Camp area.
So explain mastication.
Mastication is getting like a brush crusher. And so it's a big barrel head on a piece of equipment, a front loader equipment probably, and you have a big barrel head that will go and crush all the brush out of there. And it's another, it's expensive, but it's another good tool for the watershed and as well as, averting some disastrous wildfires. So we're going to start working out there. I'm working on that NEPA now. And then pretty soon, starting this summer, I'm going to start working on some more projects to start working in the Pinals to get, we all know 15, 20 years ago, there was some prescribed burning going on back then. And we need to start looking at that again. So if I stay here in this position, that's something we're going to be starting to look at, to do some prescribed fires in the fall and little small blocks of 100-something acres, nothing big and crazy, but just looking at doing some more fuels reduction around some areas, especially around the urban interface areas. So. Good.
If there's any more questions, feel free. If not, I really appreciate the time. And, like we were saying, we want to be as transparent as possible. I don't want, the council and the mayor to be, surprised, like, Mark, we didn't know that was going on. I don't want to hear that. So I'm trying to be proactive and if you see me in the street, feel free to talk to me and come to me in the office. My door is always open. So again, thank you. And, let's, like I said before, this is your backyard. I'm only here visiting. So we're here taking care of your backyard. So appreciate all the support that you're giving us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update, and thank you for taking care of our community.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. We'll keep it. Next, we have the library summer reading presentation. Adria?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, city manager, and public. I'm really glad to be here tonight. Tonight, I'd like to give you a quick overview of what the library is going to be doing this summer. First of all, this is our third year participating in the USDA Summer Lunch Buddies program. This program is designed to provide meals for people that are 18 years old and younger, and they are free, healthy, balanced meals. The library serves lunch Monday through Friday, and this program will start on June 3rd. We serve from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., again, every day, Monday through Friday in the summer. We have no idea how many people we're gonna get and how many people will utilize this service. So we're gonna start with 50 meals a day, serving 50 meals a day, and then we can change that volume as needed. We can request to have the number lowered or raised depending on how many people we do get. So we're really, really looking forward to the additional help that we'll be getting thanks to the partnership with Gila County. And so they'll be providing the library with some summer youth workers. So we're really excited and grateful for that. Every summer, the library, oh, yes, sir.
Where do you feed them at? In what area of the library?
So what we do is we have tables that are set up at the end of the library that's near the nonfiction side, and we prop the door open that's at the back that leads to the picnic tables. And so we do sort of like a cafeteria line, because you have to make sure with this federal program that the kids get every component of the meal. And so we just do it cafeteria style. They get every component of the meal, and then they go out to the picnic tables and they eat. So, and it works out pretty nice because we do generally get waves of people that come in. So we can feed the first batch, and by the time they're done, there's room for another batch to come in and utilize those picnic tables. So every summer, the library also participates in the national program for summer reading. The theme this year is a universe of stories. Woohoo! So I have my universe of stories shirt on. You can see it up there. That's one of the pieces of artwork. So we're going to be exploring space all summer long. Space is so exciting, so many wonderful things to do. And this is the first year where we are taking the challenge to serve every single age group in our community. So that means we're going to have programs for babies, for toddlers, and for preschoolers in the summer for the first time ever. And we're able to do so many projects, so many programs, even the Lunch Buddies program, because we have the support from the City of Globe, the United Fund of Globe Miami, and also the Friends of the Globe Public Library. So every summer we start the summer reading program with some kind of kickoff. And so you can see up there, there's our Save the Date flyer. We've gone to different community events and we've handed that out. So this year we were able to rent an inflatable planetarium. Yay! So people will get to have a whole tour of the solar system if they come to our kickoff. And that is Saturday, June 1st. It's from 5 to 8 p.m. We partnered with the Miami Library as well. And each year I try to schedule the kickoff so that 1 year we're in Globe, 1 year we're in Miami, 1 year we're in Globe, 1 year in Miami. So last year we were at Harbison Field and Globe, so this time it's Miami. So we're at the Bullion Plaza Museum Gymnasium. So that's where the kickoff will be. And again, it's June 1st from 5 to 8, and you don't have to stay the whole time. It's just kind of a come and go, but we'll have other activities there as well, in addition to the planetarium. Let's see. Okay, so if you look at this is a view of the top portion of our registration form. We ask people to register so we can get an idea of how many kids we might have in each age group. Also, teens, tweens, not just younger kids. And again, for the first time, the babies, the toddlers. And we will also have adult programming. Part of this program is encouraging people to read a minimum of 20 minutes every day. We give prizes throughout the summer. And so this time, for the first year ever, our program will be culminating with a book fair at the end of the summer. So that's really exciting too, all that reading, and then they'll get credit towards getting things at the book fair. And as you can see from this, I mean, we are jam-packed. There's something, at least one thing going on every day, Monday through Thursday. The lunch program is Monday through Friday. And then we have 2 adult programs in June that are grown-ups only, and 2 grown-up only programs that will happen also in July. So this is a picture of a couple of volunteers from last summer. And in this picture, they're wondering what they got themselves into. So we are giving people the opportunity to have that same feeling again. So our first volunteer meeting, if anyone's interested, will be this Thursday, May 30th at 1 p.m. at the Globe Public Library. And all volunteers must be eligible to get a fingerprint clearance card, because you will be working with children. So it's a great opportunity to serve the community, and we're just really, really looking forward to having an out of this world summer. Yay! So does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Shirley?
So what if you can't come Thursday at 1 p.m., but you want to volunteer?
You can just contact the library and I can talk with you about some of the different volunteer opportunities that we have. Because we have so many programs, it's going to be extra important to match up the volunteers to what they're really passionate about. Are you passionate about working with babies? Are you passionate about the preschool set? You know, would you rather help throw these adult activities? So yes, I do ask that you just call the library so I can go over the individual positions, volunteer positions that we have, and that way we can find the right fit for each person.
And then this is off the summer reading project, but tell us again, is it Thursday night or Friday night of this week that the last walk is? That the race,
So we have our 5K practice again tomorrow at 7 o'clock, but our final 5K for the spring will be Thursday at 7 p.m. So this Thursday is our actual 5K. We're all going to wear our t-shirts as club members. We're all going to, everyone that participates is going to get a medal, and then we break for the summer, and then we'll start up again in the fall. So it's a fall and a spring program that we've been doing.
And you don't have to run, you know, way more people walk than run.
Yeah, I would say 90 to 95% of the club walks. And we even have a dog. So we have kids and we have little kids in strollers. Our youngest member is one.
Wow.
Our youngest member is 1. So I won't say how old our oldest member is. It is. It's JJ. He's really cute.
I just want to thank you. You're doing a great job for the community.
Thanks. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, before, I just want to say once again, we can't say enough how lucky we are and how proud we are of all the programming and all the good things you do with that library on a limited budget, but your energy and your leadership really do show. And so thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian, your staff. Paul, do we get that on our website, and do we get it on the Gila County website too, to share this information?
Yeah, Paul Walterbeek has put up.
Yep. Well, I know we have it on the Gila County website. Do we have it on the city website? We can work on that. Okay.
Yeah, because once you're, so in order to participate in the 5K on Thursday, you had to be like an actual member. So it's kind of too late for that, but I'll do a better job in the fall to make sure that it gets posted on there.
With the new website coming online, each department will have a website that they can manage and control and be their own keeper of the information, plus master calendars and a bunch of other features. So we'll get that. That'll be part of the new rollout. So, thank you.
So next we have the consent calendar. And matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. So we have consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. Accounts payable, $852.24. Consideration approval of council minutes, March 12, 2019 meeting minutes. Consideration of agreements and purchases less than $25,000. Consideration of the fleet report, and consideration of letter of agreement between the Globe Fire Department and Mesa Community Center Paramedic Field Education Services. So do we have anybody from the audience, from the staff, or the council that would want to remove any of these items?
Then I so move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. New business. Council shall discuss the Cobra Valley Youth Club leases agreement and possibly direct staff to prepare written consent to allow Corver Valley Youth Club to sublet the property located at 1435 South Hagen Road to a youth-related nonprofit organization. Paul.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we haven't talked about some of the growth that's happened with the Corver Valley Youth Club. We have leased that traditionally to the entity in Globe, doing support for boys and girls activities after school. It's important. We all know that. We do the lease. We do funding. When Corver Valley Youth Club transitioned to the new building at a new location, we weren't sure what would happen with that building, but at that point we were happy to allow Corver Valley Youth to if they can utilize both, they'd be welcome to do that. It's always good to have as much activity going on. Any building that we lock up, close, turn the power, turn lights off, is going to deteriorate. So having activity is important. And then the board president of the Corver Valley Youth came to me, who happens to be Councilman Shipley, and because of his situation as a nonprofit and non-paid member, there's not a conflict for him to be and have this conversation with us. Asked about the sublease or a sublet to this. So his comments were that, and you can chime in here whenever, but his comments were they want to grow and be able to go back into that building, but right now they're looking to put activities in there through a sublet to another organization. And the lease allows that. It says no subletting unless written permission from the city. And so I wanted to bring this to the city, to council, to find out, if you had any questions about the use of that building, about the best use of that building. City has not come forward with any ideas. I think Dale and I looked at it for possible storage of evidence, and too many windows, and it wasn't good for that. So that was in the non-starter. We've thought about it, but we don't see any other use for that. And if it's just want to see council's desire to keep that with youth services is out by the park, and if council's willing to keep that with the Corver Valley Youth Club, to get direction, at least make sure that you're okay subletting that to another group. And I would like to let Councilman Shipley talk about further explain what I've said and what your plans are to do with that building.
First of all, thank you. The Boys and Girls Club put quite a bit of money in that building, because at the time that I was mayor, they told us that really the only thing that should be done with that building is to have it torn down. And so the city's been very gracious in letting us have and use that building for all this time. And when we transitioned from San Carlos Boys and Girls Club, because they were our sponsor, to East Valley, it went without a hitch. And then when we turned into Corver Valley Youth Club, and what happened is we were seeking a charter with the Boys and Girls Club to create our own, but it was not an option available to us. So we had an opportunity to create our own nonprofit, which gave us the ability to make our own decisions. And so we took that. And so what's going on now is, on any given day, we have more than 70 kids that come right after school. And it's not all the same 70 kids, but Fire Marshal says that's all we have. And so we got an opportunity to partner with the Globe Knights of Columbus from Holy Angels Church. They couldn't keep up with the building that they had, the Knights Hall, and so they basically are letting us have it. We agree to maintain it. They're not charging us anything. They still do some activities there, but for the most part, let us have it. So we also didn't want to see that building go into deterioration and be closed up. And so I'd asked about the possibility, since quite a bit of money went in from the community to fix that building, could we turn that into a revenue stream? And so we basically got the green light to look at it. And luckily I was able to identify, I think, what's going to be a very good partner. And we have the representatives here from Salvaged Youth. And Salvaged Youth is, they're trying to do a program right now where they give kids an opportunity to grow skill sets that will help them become employable, successful, and go forward in having a career or trade. And so they want to use that space to create a green room. They're going to do a lot of things with like media to help media training for the kids and how to put a video together, how to edit and do lots of stuff. And so they're in agreement. Since they're doing good for the community, our thought was just have them be responsible for maintaining that building, taking care of it, the utilities, and all the things that go along with taking care of a building, instead of trying to get some kind of a rent, because they're providing a benefit to the community. And so what we were hoping is that they're going to need a building for probably a couple years, and then they're hoping to get their own permanent location. We're hoping that we can do like a teen center, and we feel like that might be a good opportunity to do a teen center in the future. So we'd like to see us kind of hold the place with that building with a partner, and then eventually be able to go back to that space and expand our services. So that's our thought, and we're hoping to see if we can get a blessing from the council.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to break this into two kind of discussions. One, is it council's desire to see that building remain with the, because it is empty right now, with the Cobra Valley Boys and Girls Club? And then if that is the desire, would you be, we'll talk about stipulations that we would put on that sublease that would fit, but we have representatives from Salvage Youth that can come up and talk about what they do. So the first conversation though is, where is council at on keeping that in the hands of Cobra Valley Youth for youth activities?
I'm all for it. I think it's a good idea to go ahead and keep it in their hands. Keep the building active would be my desire.
Yeah. I echo his thoughts as well.
Okay.
I agree.
I think it's important that we continue to support organizations that work with our youth, because as we all know, the youth is the future of our city. And I think these are great opportunities to have these interested adults to teach kids the tools that they're going to need to grow up and be a good citizen in this community. So I say yes, we continue to support the youth in this fashion.
I support this also. I guess the only reason is the youth club's intending to come back to the building in the future, then, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's why you don't want to really let go of that lease to let them direct.
Well, actually, we were actually kind of approached by the city saying, please don't let that building go. And we're like, well, we can't do two buildings, but this is a solution that we've identified. And luckily, we found some gentlemen that are doing great things for the community and the kids, and we thought it might be a good partnership. So. And
their sublease will be the same amount that the annual amount that.
Yeah, so we're basically telling them take care of the building, and we're not gonna charge them anything, but they'll have to maintain insurance. They'll have to. The city doesn't fix the building for us. That's part of our agreement. Whatever breaks, we fix. And
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this would be a lot like Cobra Valley Center for the Arts, which they have the ability to sublet there, and there's certain requirements for there. It has to be art-related type of thing, and we allow profit and nonprofit there. I think some of the stipulations I would like to see, and correct me if it's different from what council would like to see, is we'd like to see it go to another nonprofit that's based on youth, and nonprofit that people that can have certain amount of background checks and make sure that they're stable, financially stable. So we would write into the letter that technically how this would work if council's direction is go forward with this, is I would provide a letter administratively to the Cobra Valley Boys and Girls Club with these stipulations that subletting is okay if you check these certain things, nonprofit, make sure they're cleared. One of the one question that I talked to Bill Sims about is this organization that you're about to hear from is a youth ministry, and we do have some some things that we have to be careful about. In talking to Bill Sims, it needs to be about programming rather than ministering. It needs to be about education, added public value or public benefit to everyone, not have any restrictions on who can and can't participate. Cannot practice any type of religious training or ministering. And ahead of this meeting, we spoke, and that did not seem to be a problem with them. But it needs to be for you'd like to say educational purpose rather than a religious purpose. So those are important requirements. If it's religious, then we need to get full market value, because we can't pick and choose for different religious organizations.
So then we need to make sure it's a 501(c) in good standing as well.
Correct. Okay. And so that would all be stipulated in that requirement letter that we would give to them. And so, Mr. Mayor, without any other questions, we'd happy to let the representatives, if you had any questions about.
I think we'd like to hear a little bit about their program and their organization.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, they were a recipient of, I think, amount of money in our nonprofit grant this year too.
Mayor and council, we thank you guys for letting us come up and talk to you guys. So we are Salvaged Youth, and we are doing some things in the community kind of different. Salvage has been around in the community since about 03, 04. They've been a established 501(c)(3) nonprofit. Our focus is really to provide students opportunities where they can get involved in different activities that they can grow their desires and their interests. So this is a lot of our production team here. So they're involved in doing a lot of our video production, photography. We do some music production. And so those are some of the things where we're borrowing facilities from different places to have places to meet, where this would really help us to be able to have a set location so that we can have places, we can have meetings and shooting locations, as well as being able to allow us to have somewhere we can team with other adults that have passions that they can help share that passion. So we're really wanting to do more with like music as well. So being able to have guitar lessons and music lessons and those kinds of things as well. This is Brian Conlon. I'll let him share a little bit as well.
Well, I'd say Chris actually probably covered the majority of it. It was mentioned that is a ministry. Our ministry is to the community. Our ministry is to not necessarily evangelize and convert or anything like that. It is to work with the youth, to build them up so that they can better the community in the future. The way we're doing that is through this building that we want, where we're going to be able to further our ability to train in the areas that he's talking about, and eventually into other trades, life skills classes, and so on, so they can all be productive members of society, contribute to the community, and hopefully build up the Globe, Miami, and San Carlos area.
What age groups are involved in this?
So that's one thing we're really excited to be able to team up with the Cobra Valley Youth Club, is we really emphasize on the junior high and high school. So 5th through 8th and then 9th through 12th grade. So I think the partnership seems to be really well to be able to kind of help take care of that upper age gap that they're not able to do as much with.
We don't have an age restriction, but most of the kids self-edit themselves out about 13. They kind of are too cool to be there with all the little kids. And so this would be a great opportunity for them to transition where there's older kids with things that are probably a little bit more interesting to them.
So this would be after school or, summer vacation, weekends? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yes, absolutely. It would be some after-school programs, having places that they can meet, and just having somewhere that they're welcome to be. I think this is the biggest part of that, so that they know that they can come in, get a snack, be involved in doing shooting video or doing music or whatever is interesting to them. But as well as summer programs, we do try to have activities and things for them throughout the summer. So we have a swimming party that we are renting down in Miami, and take the pool over and let them do those kinds of things, and just try to get them involved in the community and doing things like what am I trying to say? Community events. I'm sorry. So getting them more involved with community events and things in the community as well.
Which is good because they're going to be governing us in a decade or two, right?
Any questions?
Yeah, and they've been a great team. They came out and volunteered and helped us, and so it's just I think it's going to be a good fit for us.
Do you have a lot of equipment already, or is that some of the grant that you received that you'll be able to obtain some equipment?
Some of the grant we received was for additional equipment, and we're continuing looking for more of those resources as well.
So we're asking for a motion to move this forward to the next meeting?
Mr. Mayor, let me clarify what we're asking for. Thank you both. So I did get a text from Danny that says he's looking for help with the live streaming too. So so we have a synergy here. The ability to do this letter is administrative with the manager, but I didn't want to. It's a big move. It's important, so I did not want to do that without any changes, without going before council. It's more than the presentation, so I put it on for a vote. Now, the only other question would be, and I don't think this is not how I'd recommend seeing it, because this eventually wants to go back to Cobra Valley Youth, we don't want to have to cut that lease, pick up this lease, then cut that lease back and transfer them around. So this would be, we would do the stipulations into the agreement. It would be up to the Cobra Valley Youth to draft a lease agreement and enforce that, all those things that a leaser and leasee have to do, and their terms about what they need to do about the building, things like that. It's pretty straightforward, but I just want to make sure, the last question, does any member of council have problems with doing this through a sublet rather than a direct lease to the group? And I think it's cleaner and it facilitates what Boys and Girls trying to accomplish. Okay, it looks like we're okay with a sublet. Yeah.
So really, on our end, we don't do anything. It'll be the youth club.
Yes, they'll do that, and if there's and like I say, they'll work that out, because I think the real finesse is going to be when they want to come back in there, and how you want to, what is the trigger point where you want to come back in and you need to ask them to leave, how you handle that. So I think that's something that your board needs to work with their board to figure that out. And so, but we will just be guaranteed that the building is going towards bettering youth in the region. So if there's no change on that, I would say that the motion would be to give direction for the city manager to move forward with providing requirements for a sublet, and bring back to council in the future if necessary.
So moved as stated.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys, for coming.
Next, we have our action items. We have item A, consideration of ordinance 856, an ordinance amending existing city code 7-1-9, allowing domestic rabbits as pets within the city limits. Shelley, can you read ordinance 856, please?
Ordinance number 856, an ordinance of the City of Globe, Arizona, amending the Globe City Code by amending section 7-1-9 to include an exception for domestic rabbits and repealing any and all other ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict therewith. Is council pleased with that reading?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think Shelley pretty much said it. We're just advocating for people to want to have rabbits as domestic animals.
Is there a limit on them?
Shelley, I think it's
four.
3?
It's a herd.
3? Is it 3 rabbits?
Maybe it's a flock.
4 rabbits.
Sorry. We're all saying a different number.
You don't want to have an odd rabbit out.
And no
Sorry.
You think that's funny,
advocating
but
breeding.
There is literally a different term for every animal.
You'll have to go to Dr. Eubank or to the Nip and Tuck.
0. Good.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, once this is passed, it'll go into effect 30 days after passage, unless you want to do an emergency clause.
Mayor, can I make the motion to approve? I want to be the guy for bunnies, so I'd like to move that we approve this ordinance.
Second. We have motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Item B, consideration to approve FY 18-19 third quarter distribution of bed tax funds in the amount of $8,234.33 to the Globe Miami Regional Chamber of Commerce to be paid from account number 10-51-51900, General Fund Community Organization. Jeannie or Paul?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm covering this for Jeannie. She's been working hard on the budget, and so gave her the night off. This is the third quarter request from the Chamber of Commerce. It meets all the requirements as laid out in the letter of understanding, and they're right on top of things and got all the minutes in and everything like that. The amount would be distributed to them would be $8,234.33. And so unless there's any questions, just approval of.
Mr. Mayor, if there are no other questions or comments, I motion to approve the fiscal year 2018-19 third quarter distribution of the bed tax funds in the amount of $8,234.33 to the Globe Miami Regional Chamber of Commerce, which has met all the council requirements.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I just have a question for Jesse. Everything with the chamber, you're the representative of them?
Everything's been going okay.
Okay. So call for the vote, and all those in favor signify.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Second call to the public. Do you have any call cards? Scheduling of meetings?
I have a question on that. So the 6:11 and 6:25 are the regular council
Yes.
evenings, and then in addition to, we're going to do the budget and the CIP and then
Right, and
the tentative budget.
what we, so the 611, 620.
Sleeping bags? You're saying?
Well, we all talking about bonding and some other things. So it will be a meaty meeting. What we will do is, prior to the meeting with the agenda, we will roll out a budget book. You'll have first read. We'll give you the highlights. And then you have pretty much 2 weeks to go through and look at that. We can look at possible adoption of the tentative. The tentative is simply how the higher limit of how much you want to spend. I don't see a problem in that. If your intentions are to do any cuts or any additions or anything like that, we can figure that out. So in essence, you're gonna get the full rollout of the combined budget with every piece of it, fund balance, rainy day, everything we're putting in there, employees, all of that, and then you have that 2 weeks where we can come back and after you ask questions, dig through it, come back and ask questions again, and then hit the top, the most amount of money we're going to have in there, and we're going to have the 2.8 in there for the bridge. We may have $1 million in there for a possible, or a couple million for possible WIFA. There's some other things in there that we're going to have in there that we need to put headroom in at that point, and then the 15% on the fund balance for contingency. At that point, even at the June 25th meeting, if you want to make changes to it, we still have the ability to make changes coming up to the final budget. You can change the final, but you can only go down, you can't go up.
So go back to 6:11 because I want to see the full presentation of the CIP. You know, we're talking about all the departments. Their CIP. I mean, we have not gotten that.
Right. And
so like I said, how many sleeping bags do we need? Because this is important.
Yes, I would say, I I think beanbag chairs would work. I think some comfy pillows. We'll get some. It will be a meaty meeting. There is, I think it's laid out. There's not that many things, but what's important, the reason we've laid out the CIP, usually we lay out CIP and then we come back with the money we have, but in this point, you'll have all the pieces of the puzzle there. So if you want to shift CIP, if you want to add, you'll know all the amounts. You'll know what our fund balance, you'll know what our operational budget is. And so you have that give and take in there. And I think that's going to be more important because it makes the decision process more relevant, because you see when you move something else has to give. And then you can see that.
So when we're talking about adding, like the $199,000 that's going to be added now to roads because of what got tacked onto the bill that was in the $2.8 million, what are we doing with that? That's how to dump truckloads of asphalt.
That'll be, because that'll have its own funding source. The bridge will have its own funding source. If it has its own dedicated funding sources, we're good as gold. We take the funding, 2.81 million, and we
I'm talking about the 190.
Yeah, 197 for roads. We figure out what the category is, and we just take it right across. Those are easy.
Who's we?
What's that?
Who's we? Who figures out the 199,000?
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Who's we? I want to know who's figuring out the 199,000. What we're going to do with that?
Well, no, it'd be council. Whatever council wants to do with it within the priorities. I need to find the limitations on the money. My understanding is it's transportation, not salaries and asphalt or some type of road stuff. But I want to hear we want to know what Jerry's recommendations would be, is how best to apply that, and then have council discuss it. But I believe that's straight up, road money.
And we're going to do all that on 6/11.
We're going to start the process on 6/11. So,
Paul, do we have availability of getting that CIP packet a week prior instead of Friday?
I mean, if you'd like to see it,
look at it.
At least a
week before.
Yeah, no, we can send the CIP out earlier. That'd be without any. It's ready to go.
Okay.
Let me see about getting it out.
I got these highlighter pens.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through that paper and read the stuff. Not the day before. I can't do that.
No. We're talking about we'll get it out on the.
I can't. I don't have time for that.
Okay.
Ahead of time.
So the actual list of CIP projects we can get out a week ahead of time.
That'd be
no problem.
great.
Okay. That's no problem there.
Any questions on scheduling or?
And just to revamp the meeting on the 9th, in case there's anything meaty that we need to talk about, have any additional presentations. If there's something that we need more information,
Say haggle.
Haggle, yeah.
You were. He stopped himself.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
And so, and then we can go July 16th. We need to have 3 weeks between the tentative and the final. And so because you need to have 2 weeks to have it posted, and you can't post and then have another meeting in that 2 week cycle, that's why we're going 3 weeks out. And then also we're moving the July 23rd meeting up to the 16th, just because of some scheduling problems. I will tell you, I think there are some people will be absent on the June 11th. Is that Mr. Mayor, you'll be absent, and the Vice Mayor will be running the meeting.
I'll be absent too.
You're going to be absent too? Okay, the other thing is I know Shelley will be out. She has training, and so we have a surprise sit-in clerk that we believe is over there in blue. And so we're not sure who's going to cover the camera, but he's good with technology. And
one of these folks.
Salvage Youth is here.
Yeah, one of these folks.
Yeah, we get them.
That's a great name.
So we're gonna get that worked out. But this is the big rollout, the presentation, and we can talk about getting direction from council to what to modify to bring back, and then we'll again talk about that again on the 25th. Okay. So I think, Shelley, anything we missed on upcoming meetings? I think that's about it. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, no action on this, just informational. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 9, future agenda items.
Well, maybe a follow-up on one we already had. And this might just be a question that can be answered. But Curb Appeal did a really good presentation, and I thought really explained what they have done and what they are, capable of doing in the future. So where is it, or where are we at with that?
I mean, I heard the presentation. That's all I know. I mean, there was no ask in the presentation. It was a presentation what they've done in the past. Mr. Mayor, is that?
Yeah, I think it was a presentation, but I also think, is there a way that we work them into somehow assisting our code enforcement as volunteers? I don't know. I think we need to look at that and see. I mean, they're actually an important resource if we can utilize them somehow as a volunteer, if they're doing a lot of the footwork.
Okay, all right. So,
But if they come back to council, are we going to be able to ask questions? He kind of just said what he wanted to do and then didn't allow us to ask any questions.
It was.
Well, but we can request that, as we should.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe come up with some kind of plan that might work
Then Michelle's in on.
No, I don't really. I think my desire is to hear from staff on how they can utilize if we can get with them and see what they really are offering, what the extent of it is. I know they, and then come back with a staff presentation rather than the curb appeal presentation. But if you'd like to have them in the audience, I would like to, if there are questions from council, I think it is important if you have a presentation from someone that they allow questions to be asked. It should be a two-way street, not just a presentation then drop the mic. So, but
I thought it was going to lead to some kind of that we worked them somehow into our system as volunteers, because I mean, if we can utilize them to identify properties out there, blight, if they identify addresses and pictures and stuff like that, I mean, that's something that Michelle wouldn't have to do.
Yeah. Then if that's then let's look at that as a future agenda item as to how staff can incorporate the volunteer products that Curb Appeal has to help her get identify projects or identify violations. We can do that.
Paul, I'd like to see a follow-up also. Oh, go ahead. Freddie?
No, I just wanted to echo that. I think it's important that our staff look at how the curb appeal can aid, because our code enforcement officer, I'm going to take a stab at this, but I would venture to guess that of all the people in this staff, our code enforcement officer knows the codes probably better than anybody in this community. And I really think it's important that we aid our code enforcement officer and the staff with the volunteers in a way, in a fashion that staff feels would be more supportive, rather than us asking volunteers on how we can support them. That's just where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I like that. And so based on that direction, yes, we will bring back on the 11th. No, I'll wait. Probably
next year.
We'll have that ready.
July.
Okay, we'll do the July 9th meeting. I think it's got some room on it. So we'll bring that back. And Mayor, you had a second ask?
Yeah, well, I had one other comment too. In all departments, we look at volunteers. Adria is looking for volunteers, to help her with her programs. We don't have enough staff to do all the things we want to do, and we have to rely on the volunteers within the community to help out.
And this is a great community for volunteerism. It really is. People really step up.
Yeah. I did have one other one. I think I'd like to see some follow-up, if it's okay with council, on if we're starting to have an issue with dogs, and what's our leash law, what's our noise ordinance. If we're having an issue with dogs now in these neighborhoods, I think it's something we need to address.
And so just an overview of animal control and our code?
Yeah, what's the process, and is there something we can do to help these residents out? We'd hate to see, I'd hate to be around where a dog barks all night too. I mean, that isn't satisfactory either.
Okay. Uh-oh.
We have the answer.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
We got the answer.
Just on the
Heard my name mentioned. Good evening, Mayor and Council. A couple of things. Staff Sergeant Haynes reached out and talked to the gentleman that had brought that concern to the forefront. We have not been receiving calls for service for this, so we did some education with the gentleman outside. We can put some educational information out on our Facebook, so if they're having issues with dog barking or who to contact, how to contact, and things like that, and we can try to help educate that. And then I also have a follow-up concern.
Well, and let's talk about what we're going to talk about in the future. I don't want to be caught responding to the call of the public, but I think that type of information, the code as to what the mayor is asking, and how they can not complain properly, but who to notify. And so what else is this areas that we're going to talk about with this future presentation?
No, yeah, the question concerning the volunteers.
I don't, and I don't see that as a back and forth conversation, because unless you want to see a presentation on how we can recruit volunteers, at least at this agenda item, I don't want to get us into a roving conversation. I want to stick to the things that council wants to hear in the future, unless council would like to hear a presentation about how we can better utilize volunteers.
Well, how can you craft that to answer that?
I can put together a presentation on the Motorist Assist program that the police department will be putting together, and we'll be trying to partner with zoning specifically to address some of the issues from where I come from, what we'd like to see at the forefront here. And we're hoping to have something in place by probably the end to late summer time period, and we can put something together for not the 11th, but one of the future council meetings.
We will need sleeping bags.
You all will have more information on what we're looking at doing to try to partner with zoning to try to address some of these concerns.
And so, Mr. Mayor, members of council, maybe a presentation how each department ways they can or can utilize volunteer.
Exactly. I think every department, in the fire department, I think we got to recruit volunteers out there. There's no way we can survive with the amount of people we have.
Okay, so let's put down as our third future agenda item.
Good with that?
Yeah.
Any other items? No e-session?
There's no need for e-session. We had that just in case.
Ask for motion for adjournment.
Motion made.
Motion second to adjourn. All those in favor signify.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Let the record show it's 8 o'clock on the dot.